How's it going? I'm Ryan. If you're watching this, it's because you have seen some small hive beetles in your beehives. I'm making this video to show kind of how I handle it. I have, I would say, a fairly good amount of beetles. Not an infestation yet, but definitely to the point where it needs to be treated. It is February, mid-February here in Oklahoma City. We're just started to warm up, so just started getting into the hives. I had a pretty substantial hive beetle problem going into winter. I was hoping that the cold would kill off quite a few of them. It did, but there's still enough to warrant some treatment going into spring so we get a good harvest. We don't have too many beetles. The treatment I like to use is a boric acid based poison placed in the middle of one of these small hive beetle traps. You close it, you place these around the hive. I usually buy them in packs of 10. And the beetles will climb in, they'll eat the poison, your bees can't get in here, and then they'll die. Sometimes they die outside the hive, but I see a good reduction in the number of beetles in the hive after this. Other ways you'll see doing this is you'll see a lot of people using CD cases that they've broken the sides out of. This does work, but the CD cases seem to get propolis closed a lot quicker than the dedicated boxes, and these, when closed, are smaller and easier to place around the hive. So I prefer the dedicated boxes rather than the deals. Another great method is the Swiffer pads. These do really work. The beetles will get trapped in them and die, where the bees will not. If you only see tens of beetles in your 10 or 15 beetles in your hives, I'd suggest going the no poison route and use these. People have had a lot of success. I'm going to throw a couple of these in my hives just to see how they do this time around. Thing I would not suggest, though, are these oil traps. I've never had very good success with them. They're mostly passive. The beetles have to climb in there. Even if you put a little honey in there, I haven't seen a huge increase in the number of beetles that want to climb down in these oil traps. Every time you pry this up with your pry tool, too, you are going to inevitably spill mineral oil mixed with honey all over yourself and all over your hive. I think the trouble for them is not worth the effort. I think these two methods work so much better. If you want a passive method, use the pads. If you want a more aggressive, or if you have a more aggressive infestation like I do, use the CD cases, and best of all being the dedicated traps. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of how I make the solution, but it's very easy. 1 tablespoon of Crisco, one tablespoon of boric acid, 1 tablespoon of honey, all mixed together, dabbed in the middle. And then I'll take you down to the hives. I'll kind of show you what probably time to treat is on hive beetles. I'd say all 4 of my hives are at that point right now. And then I'll hopefully have a follow-up for you in a few weeks of what it looks like after the treatment. So I'm going to go through the steps now to make the boric acid poison that you apply to the traps. It's extremely simple. It's 1 part shortening, 1 part boric acid powder, 1 part honey. Take each one of these, put it into a bowl. I would suggest putting it into a bowl not on your kitchen countertop, so your wife's not very mad at you for spilling boric acid poison all over your kitchen. After you mix all these together, you should come to have a thick paste like this. You want something that's not going to melt easily in the hive out where the bees can get to it. So that's what you're looking for. Not runny at all. I can scoop this up and shake it off. The trap, very simple, just a dab right in the middle, and you only need a dab in each one. The bees will propolis this close after a while, so you'll have to reset these, but that'll be plenty to do the job. So we're here at the hive now. I'm going to open this guy up. This hive, like I said, had a pretty moderate hive beetle problem when we started this season. We'll see how they look now. Just got my feeder up here. This is empty. Pull it back up. Open up. About 75 degrees out today. And as you can see, This is a fairly unacceptable amount of hive beetles. This is definitely the line when I would start to treat. You can see there's probably 100 or so on just the upper lid alone. And this is a good way to check for beetles. Is what does the lid look like? You can see them pooling down here in the corners. And usually I'll take my hive tool and try to kill as many as I can, but that's, you know, killing with your hive tool is not an effective management strategy. So we'll definitely get some traps in here and hopefully see an improvement. Yeah, look at them all. So hopefully see a big improvement next time we open this hive. And to start with, I'm just going to put one trap. You saw how those beetles like to be up in the corners of the lid. And what I'll do is I'll put one trap in all four corners of the top. And I find this to be very effective because just like they were in the corners of those lids, they're going to come up here and try to get up in the corners of these, and the bees will chase them to some place where the beetle feels safe, and so the bees will actually chase the beetles into these traps. And sometimes if you do it like this, where it sits kind of across the frames, that seems to be the best method, so those beetles have a nice clear path into the frames. Does that make sense? So they can climb right up there and in. Just because this hive was pretty bad, and we kind of want to get ourselves a test run here, I'm also going to lay a dryer sheet on this one, and we'll see how that fares compared to the other ones. Might have squished a bee. All right, it's been a few weeks. Let's take a look and see how our hive beetle traps are doing. We also added some extra boxes. We're going to do a split on this hive here later today. That's why you see the extra boxes here. These up here on top. Little smoke just to get them off the lid. It's a nice warm day here. Let's see how they're feeling. All right. Oh, I got a few upset ones. Might glove up. Oh, overall though, look at the lid this time. Way fewer hive beetles than we had last time. I would say we're maybe 20 compared to the hundreds we had the last time 2 weeks ago. So you can definitely see that it's been pretty effective what we've ran, even though we've added the extra box here. So that looks really good. Check for the queen. And I see her hanging out up there. She shouldn't be all the way up here. I don't know if you can see it, but these traps did do a little bit. You can see they've got a few beetles on them. Like I said, a few bees. You guys trying to sting me? A few bees stuck in them as well, but for the most part, pretty good. But again, very passive. So we saw what the other hive looked like. A big reduction in hive beetles from that hive that was definitely having trouble. If you remember, this hive wasn't doing as bad, but let's check it anyway. So we got the traps. You can see there's just a couple beetles here on the top, so those traps have been pretty effective. Maybe 10 or 15. I don't remember how many this one had before, but traps seem to be pretty effective and get rid of the beetles. Let's go ahead though. I wanted to open this one up because I was dogging on this oil trap, so I was hoping to see how many beetles this actually caught. You can see there's a beetle like hiding under the lip of it. So here's the thing, trying to pry it up without making a mess. Oh, I spilled a little. So I'll give it some credit. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3. There's probably 25 beetles in there. So I mean, I eat my words a little bit. It did work. It worked a little bit better than I expected. But you saw in the other hive that these traps made a huge reduction in the number of beetles in the hive comparatively, and they're quite a bit less of a mess. So I'd still stay away from this one. I think I'm gonna throw it back in here just to keep documenting how it's going. But so after looking at these 4 hives, you saw that first hive had a lot of beetles in it. That was at least a good example for you guys of what a hive that's in need looks like. That's definitely the level, about 100 beetles on the lid. It's time to get some traps in there and get something going. The other 3, though, surprisingly, were really good looking. 10 to 20 beetles on the lid. Something passive like the Swiffer pads probably would have been plenty. Since I already made up the traps, I thought I'd go ahead and put them in there. But that's what you should be seeing here, at least in southern beekeeping. I'm happy to share this information with you. We're going to keep this series going. I'll do a follow-up video for these, and we'll see if that oil trap works, and we'll see if these traps are working well. But we're going to keep the series going, and I'm going to hopefully document our whole year this year beekeeping, and hopefully get people into the hobby. We're going to plan on upgrading our bee yard quite a bit, and our goal is to get more people interested in this really great, really interesting hobby. Please like and subscribe to the series so you can see the rest of our videos as they come out, and we hope you guys either get into this hobby with us this year, or if you watch this series, you'll be prepared for everything you need for next year. Thanks again.